We can go over. I had to do another one. Just tell them we have to go in again. All right, so we had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to start the thing over again. And I believe we're live. Are we live? Am I live? Okay, so I think we're live. Noob! Oh, Noob. Every time I see you, I tell you, I get all excited. Thanks. I'm glad. All right, so we're back on. So I don't know if you guys heard my story about the location agreement, but one of the things I just want to say is, you know, the power of location agreement keeps you in. A lot of people, they don't realize the challenges that are associated out there with being in the ATM business. And a location agreement, a lot of guys say, hey, I'm a handshake guy, I do everything on a handshake, and that's great. But sometimes there's communication issues. Sometimes there's new partners that come in the game. Sometimes things change. And the power location agreement keeps you in the game long after something else happens and causes the deal to go sideways. This gives you the ability to mend that relationship and keep on business moving forward. Because sometimes there's personality issues and sometimes things happen. In my case, what happened is the wife was running the business. The husband wasn't. Now the husband came back into the business. And you know what? There's communication areas between the wife and the husband. And so we were asked to leave, and it was just because the husband wasn't getting the communication from the wife. So, hey, Noob, how you doing? I hope all is well. All right, so one of the questions is they said, what's an ISO? So an ISO is an independent sales organization, and what they do is they contract between Visa, MasterCard, and the major banks, Sears, Nice, Pulse, Discover, and they also have to get what they call a sponsor bank. Our sponsor bank is Pueblo Bank of Trust, and what we do is we get contracted with them, they vet us, and then we get audited every year to make sure we're doing our due diligence of what we say we're going to do, and then from there we're able to process transactions. So we can have the card holders go through any of our ATMs on our route or everybody else's route and process those transactions. All right. So one of the classes is how much is the ATM A to Z course, the master class, and the master class is $997. What we do is we also teach you in there. There's like almost between 70 and 80 videos in there that teach you how to get into the ATM business, how to maintain the business. There's also documents in our document vault that help you with a location agreement, vault cash agreement, surcharge agreement, things of that nature. All right. So, okay. So one of the questions is how do you set up an ACH? What we do is we give you a ACH agreement, or you can have one for your customers. And what you do is you give them the ACH agreement. Basically, it asks for a routing number, account number, and name of the bank, and then how much are you going to be, or that's what it asks for, and then along with a void check. Then what we do is on our organization, what we do is we input that data. So when your money has to go, let's say you pay commission, let's say 50 cents a transaction. Every transaction that you do will now allow you to just do one simple deposit into your customer's account. Therefore, you don't have to write checks. I'm not a big fan of checks. It makes it cumbersome at the end of the month. If you only have one ATM, it's not a big deal. But once you get 2, 3, 4, then it's like, I get tired of writing those. I got to try writing those checks every month. And then you got to take a statement, calculate how many transactions you do, put that in an envelope, and set that out. We did that for years. I didn't like it. I started to hate it because every month I have to write all that out. I wasn't that person. Then we discovered, you know what, we're going to put it as an ACH, make it automatic. Therefore, you know what, they get an email with the transaction volume. They get a deposit and an email that says, hey, this is how much you got every month. And you know what, they're happy, and I don't have to facilitate that every month, which it becomes daunting after a while. Okay. Let's see. How does hiring bricks hiring bricks, loom is, etc. What? How does hiring bricks / loom, Loomis? Oh, Brinks and Loomis, etc. work. Okay, so how do you hire Brinks and Loomis, etc. work? Okay, so Brinks and Loomis, for those that you don't know, they're armor cars services. So what you'll do, Brinks and Loomis, they want with they always wanted a special lock on there, and special lock basically gave them extra security, and they could either dial it in from the main office. It was like a Cabo Mas lock. It's usually about a $400 upgrade, and what you would have to do is you had to put that on all your ATMs. Then they had time sensors where they could, let's say Brinks could issue a code and say, okay, from let's say 5 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning, the armored car carrier could get into your ATM, and then from the rest of the time it was locked. So even if they had the code, they couldn't get in there. There's an added security, but they require that on every ATM. So there's about a $400 upgrade because you have to have that. Then the second thing is they're gonna charge you per drop, somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 to $80. So every drop, Brinks or Loomis or whoever you contact will charge you per drop, and then they usually charge you about a point over the current interest rate, and I don't know what it is right now. Let's say it's 3.5% is what the prime rate is. So they'll charge you about a point over that, depending on your volume. It might be less, it might be more. And then Brinks or Loomis will load your ATMs. Now, if you have a service call and you have to get into the ATM, you have to call Brinks or Loomis and say, hey, I need to issue a service call to Joe's convenience store. So then they'll do it on their time, usually the next day, not usually same day. They'll issue a tech, they'll go out with the code, open it up if there's a bill jam. That's usually how the whole process works. Now, as an ATM owner, you want to minimize how many times they go out there, because every time they go out there, that's going to cost you money. So figure on, just let's round numbers, at $75. So it's your money. It's your money that you're paying interest on, or you're paying the interest on that. So if they will lend you that money, that's what it is. And then you'll have to have, they got security protocols. Do they have, you have to have insurance on that ATM in case it gets stolen, because it's Loomis's money or Brinks's money. So that's how that process works. You gotta figure you're gonna have to do somewhere around $200 positive cash flow or more to just break even. If you're gonna go there once a month, because you have to load it heavy, because every time they drop, you'd rather pay the interest on the money that's in the box than have to go there twice, because if you go there twice, now it's an extra $75, $80, depending on what it is. So you want to most people have on a car, they go there once a month. They load it heavy because the money on the street is usually cheaper than the drop. Just to let you know. Okay. Who reads the 1099s? But I think what that is who issues 1099s. For you, the ATM owner, you would generally issue the 1099 if they make $600 more. So there's a lot of questions. You're like, well, how does it work, or what does it do? We get a lot of questions like that answered throughout the year. At the end of the year, what you do is you look at, hey, how many ATMs that I got made over $600 for the customer. So if you paid over $600 of commission, then you want to do is you want to issue them a 1099. What you also want to do is when you go in a location, you issue them a W-9, and they fill out the W-9, and then from there, now you had their federal tax ID number, the corporation name, and where to mail any documentation to. Now at the end of the year, you go in and you say, okay, here, let's say Joe's convenience store, they made over $600. I'm going to issue them a 1099. Now, if you're a corporation, an S corporation, and they're a corporation, not an LLC, a corporation, not you, an LLC, then corporation to a corporation, you do not have to issue them a 1099 by law. However, we've made it a practice, PDQ, to issue everybody who makes over $600 a 1099. And the reason that is because I don't necessarily know if they say it's Joe's Bar and Grill LLC. Are they an S corporation or are they a partnership? And so what I want to do is make sure that I was issuing the proper paperwork. So that's what we do, is just everybody, I don't care if they're S Corp, or C Corp, or an LLC, we issue them a 1099 just to make sure that we covered our butt. All right. So One of the things I want to let you know is there's been, I mean, throughout right now through the COVID season, or people didn't plan for this and that. I want to let you guys know that there are sometimes supply shortages in ATMs. I know Jen Mega was having some issues before. Now, the Showson was rumored to have some issues. I don't know where everything is, but I'm just letting you know that I'm starting to hear rumors throughout the thing that, and Plume, and I didn't hear anything on Triton, but they're starting to have supply issues from time to time. So just keep that in mind when you guys are getting location, is that, you know what, you might have a supply issue going down because of different things. I guess a lot of people didn't, things shut down for COVID a year ago, and then the factory shut down, the maker shut down, and then as they ramp back up, they didn't necessarily know it's going to be such a good year. Oh, I'm tired. And so because of that, there could be some supply issues. So I just want to let you know that that could be coming down. It hasn't really come into play just yet, but I just want to let you guys know it did. So Noob asked, can we talk to a CPA to issue someone a 1099? Yes. I don't even know to get one of those things filed out. Okay, so all it is, Noob, is you're just looking for, you can Google 1090, you can Google W9, and then now you have the information. At the end of the year, you can ask your accountant to send them out a 1099. All you do is you would give your accountant a list of, these are the customers, these are the tax ID numbers, these are who we mail it to, and then your accountant could take care of that. We do that all through we have QuickBooks, and we do that through our QuickBooks. We have a QuickBooks bookkeeper that helps us do that, but we set it all up like that. Oh my God. Oh. In the beginning. So we do that every year. When should I find a processor? Okay, so PDQ is works hand in hand with the processor. Switch Commerce is our processor, and you can't go directly to Switch Commerce, but you can go through us, and we can get you basically the processor. We facilitate that whole movement. So if you're looking for a processor, you can come to PDQ. We can help you with any and all processing needs. We also, if you guys didn't know, we also sell ATMs, we service ATMs, we get parts. So if you guys got keypad issues or dispenser problems or whatever like that, we can help you out with any and all those things. And I told you guys before, we also sell wireless devices. So if you're looking for a wireless device, we can help you out. Now, I've been getting a lot of phone calls just to let you know that this festival, this was coming back online. So we blew pretty much in Illinois. I'm here in Illinois. We blew May, but June is looking real promising. We just started, and people towards the end of June, they're like, hey, we want to get back on a thing. We haven't talked in a year. We want to make sure that you're going to be available this year for our festival. So that's really exciting of what's going on. Always remember, one of the things that I learned very early is we didn't have that mobile agreement. What happens? Somebody would call and say, hey, I want to have a mobile. We want to have an ATM for our location on, let's call it the 12th of July. Saying, okay, no problem. Put them in the book, send them an email. Yep, they're all good. Okay, now we go out to the location on 12th of July, and what happened is there's already an ATM there. So we talk to, the person the day before, say, hey, we're going to come there. Like, yeah, no problem, great. And we get there's already ATM, and the guy says, well, I thought that was you to put the ATM. They're like, no, this is us here. And then so they call over on the walkie-talkies, hey, who? And then somebody says, well, I was in charge of the ATM this year. And so the right hand didn't talk to the left hand. Somebody else got the deal. And what happened is now we scheduled an ATM, and we scheduled the time. So all that was a loss. There's nobody to talk to. I mean, it was already done. So we did all our thing up front. So now what we say is we always send them a location, or basically a mobile contract that lets them know, because somebody's sometimes got to sign off on that, and therefore everybody's on the same page. So don't let that happen to you guys. So if you guys are coming into mobile season, make sure that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So if you get the opportunity to do mobile, which is a lot of fun, and you make a lot of money in a short amount of time, make sure you have that mobile agreement. It just it protects you to make sure that everybody is on the same page on the event site. All right. Is it a good idea to place an ATM in a big hotel company like Holiday Inn? So I believe in this. If the general manager or the regular manager wants to sign the deal and they're okay with it, I don't have an issue with it. But a lot of times when you deal with corporate doesn't ever want to sign anything, because most of the time in a Holiday Inn, they have a management company that's running the Holiday Inns. And so what happens is when the management company comes in, they don't want to sign any deals, because in case their management contract goes away, then Holiday Inn doesn't want to be on the hook for any deals that they sign. So one of the issues is they say, well, we'll only sign a deal for a year. Well, now you got an agreement for a year. And it depends on what you guys want to do. Most of the time, that ATM is going to stay in there forever. Sometimes it's not. So I got to look at, hey, what's the thing? We had an Embassy Suites that a friend of mine, he was in St. Augustine, Florida, and right down the street they were building a Embassy Suites, 200-room hotel right on the beach. Was going to be a home run. So I talked to the general manager left and right, and the whole time he's like, "Yep, no problem. I'll do whatever it takes. Your friend is a friend of mine. We can make it happen." Then when we got into right down to the nitty gritty, the guy says, "Well, here's the deal: is that the powers that be upstairs, they only want to sign a 1-year agreement, and they want 50% of the commission." And so I said, "Well, I don't know how good your Embassy Suites is going to do, so we can do a tiered scale. If it goes, so many transactions, I'll give you X. If it does more, I'll give you Y." I said, "But I'm not going to give 50% over surcharge for a 1-year deal." He's like, "Well, that's what corporate said they're going to do." I said, "Well, then fine." I walked away. So somebody else put the ATM in there, that's fine. But for me, it didn't make sense. So it just depends on what you guys want to do. Some people are like, "Hey, it's 200 rooms. It's probably going to generate me, $400 or $500. I'll take the shot. I don't care." And that's good for you. For us, it wasn't about that. I always want to make sure that the deal is a long-term deal, and I don't get muscled on a deal. So a lot of times I'll push deals away just because I don't like those deals. I want a deal that I'm going to stay in there, I'm going to make money, and I got a guaranteed long-term investment with them, and they got a long-term investment with me. Those are the deals I like to take. The rest of the stuff, you know what? That's not good for me anymore. A lot of people out there, "Phil, I'll take that all day long." I had a location that was a breakfast place, cash only. I went round and round with the guy. He wanted to put a $2 surcharge on there, and he wanted $1. And I said, "I'll do that, but I want a 5-year agreement." And he said, no, he didn't want to sign an agreement. So I just gave it to somebody else. It's doing 200 transactions a month. That's a good location for the guy. But for me, it wasn't what I wanted, just because he wouldn't sign an agreement. And I was out on that deal. All right. Let's see. What else we got? Okay. We got wireless devices. Where can I get a wireless device? Again, we sell wireless devices. We have a rental program, or you can buy it. So it's $159 if you want to buy it, or it's or $18.95 a month, and you can rent it. What's the difference? Which way should I go, Phil? And so it's going to be up to you. If you buy it and things change, the wireless kind of companies kind of change. They were from 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G. There's 5G out there. 5 is for basically data, not if you're going to stream something. It doesn't apply to the wireless right now, but I'm just letting you know that those are the kind of changes that happen. They're just starting to kick 3G off right now, and 3G's been out there. I don't know exactly how long, but it seems like it's been for 5 or 6 years. So if you have a rent thing, you send it back to us, and we send you the latest, greatest product. But if you bought it, then you're on your own. All right. Jeff A., how do you believe, let's see, Phil, do you believe hotels and gated communities might be a different place? Okay. Do you believe hotels and gated communities might be a decent place to place ATMs? It depends on a gated community, what's in there. It's just hotels. I don't know what that a gated community means. I mean, is it just houses in there? If they might have a convenience store in the middle of it for let's say the apartment complex, it depends on what that is. I'm always looking at what cash solution am I solving? Am I solving a problem? And sometimes, people don't want to leave the community. They just want to go to the convenience store, and that's good. If there's a lot of people, in that community, maybe that makes sense because they don't have to leave. But nobody else is coming in. So how many potential customers do I get a day? We had one customer that bought an ATM and they put it into I don't know, a doctor's office, and I don't necessarily know that that's going to be a good situation because the doctor is just interested in getting the people to come in for their prescriptions or to solve a problem with their health. And this person wanted to put the ATM in there to do transactions. But at the end of the day, how many customers does the doctor see a day? 8. I mean, so if we had 8 customers they saw a day, and they're not open on Saturdays, they're not open on Sundays. The doctor takes half a day on Wednesday. So what can I see? 8 times 5 is 40. The most I'm going to see is 40 people a week. So, and if we get 10% of that, that's 4 people. That's 4 transactions a week. I mean, 4 times 4 is 16. I'm looking at 16 transactions a month. It's not going to be worth my time. So sometimes you got to look at those kind of things when you put an ATM in. But basically, to answer your question is how many transactions you think I could possibly do, and does it make sense? Would you recommend going for big business to place ATMs for more transactions or small business, or does it matter? Here's what I can tell you. I stay away a lot of times from corporate deals. Just because corporate deals have corporate lawyers, they want to rip apart my location agreement, they don't want to sign anything, and they don't want to sign anything for a long period of time. So that doesn't make sense to me. And then they want a bigger surcharge split and a bigger commission. So I stay away from those deals just because it doesn't make sense to me. I would rather deal with a smaller mom and pop. This is my personal preference. Maybe not for you guys, but I'd rather deal with smaller business owners. I'm a small business owner. I like smaller business owners. I understand them a little bit better. The corporate guys, not so much my cup of tea, because I have to deal with a lot of layers. The management always changes hands. There's always somebody who knows somebody. I don't have the relationship, and I'm a relationship guy. So I like to stay with people that I can build a relationship, and then they value what we do for them. The big corporations, they're in and out. They're like a revolving door. The management comes in and out, and because they don't want to sign any kind of long-term agreement, so management comes in, and new person says, "Oh, I got a guy," and then I'm out of my ear. So it's like, what's the point? I create a bad deal with no longevity. So for me, a lot of those corporate deals, and if that's what you're talking about, big business, doesn't make sense to me. And they always want to beat me up. I don't want to be beat up. I'm old enough. I've been beat up enough. So I like to stay with little business where I can help the small business owner solve an issue, and we make money, and our ATMs are all up and running, and they're getting the transactions from the money they take out to help them in their community. That's the people that I like. That's where we stay in ours. So hey, if some of these things were helpful, if you guys can put a 1 in the chat, that would be good, because I want to see if these things are helpful, and if this live is going good for you guys, I'd like to know that. So if you guys can just type 1 in the chat, that would be great to let me know that, hey, this has been helpful going forward. And I just want to leave you guys with, I'll take a drink of water. All right. No Noob says anything. So, all right. So, let's see what we got. Jeff, very hopeful that have it. Okay. Do you need one more thing? Do I need a corporation to be in business? So, one of the things is I would say is normally I would have said no, you don't. But lately, when you go to the bank and try to open up a business with the ATM business, it's very hard to do that on the personal, and it's very hard to do with a DBA. So especially in this type of environment, one of the things that I've seen work better than DBA is to have a corporation. And for me, the S corporation is always the way to go. There's some controversy back and forth, and the reason is because I choose the S corporation over LLC is because I always believe I'm going to be very successful when I set this up. So an LLC, it gives you the ability to file as a partnership or a sole proprietor. And then, so whatever money you make, you can add that onto you. If you have a 9-to-5, you can add that money onto that. And then you'll have to pay higher taxes on the LLC than you would in the S Corp. For me, I want to separate myself. I want to have the S corporation set up, and I want to build on that business entity. So that's the way I'm always looking for it. So for you guys out there, you say, well, why do you always say S corp? Because I think I'm going to be successful. I don't ever think I'm not. So if you want to set up an LLC and your tax accountant says, oh, it's the easier way to do it, they're not banking on you being successful. So they're saying, oh, well, if you start to make money, then we can adjust. So I'm all down with that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make money. So I always say S corp, and that's the way to go. Now, you could set up an LLC and then file as an S corp. That's perfectly acceptable. I just don't, I get a lot of people, what we try to say is try to eliminate confusion. Because if I say, oh, set up your LLC, and I never tell you to file as an S corp, then you're like, well, Phil, I thought I was good with an LLC. So I just don't even confuse anybody. We always just say S corp. So, all right, well, that's it. Thank you guys very much for being out there in YouTube land, and we'll see you guys next week. And thank you very much.